Hello there, how you doing? Come on in, sit down. It's all good because you're here for another podcast. You're probably wondering, who are you? Well, if it's your first time here, let me tell you. It's me, Chris Slight, the head of social content here at Strange Scaffold, and you are listening to the latest episode of the Strange Scaffold Cool Things Club. This month, we are joined by Manda, who is the executive producer of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, which, if you missed it, got its release date quite recent. Oh, there's someone at the front door.
Dad is at the front door.
It's me, Dad. Christ, hang on, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. It was me dad picking up their dog. We were looking after their dog for a little bit. They were out this morning, so we were looking after their dog. She's a great dog, Queenie. She's a Labrador, brilliant dog, love her. But that's not why you're here. As I was saying, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown is coming out May 22nd. If you haven't seen the trailer already, I've put it in the show notes. And there's a couple other things you're probably wondering about in the show notes. Don't worry. As you probably figured, now I'm saying it out loud, they're referenced in the show. But anyway, let's get into it. Myself, Xalavier, Candace, we're joined by Manda. Sit back and enjoy. I've just got an update that Harding's apartment may well be getting worked on today, so that's exciting. Thanks.
I was wondering what was happening with Harding's apartment.
Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. Christa's going to be working on Harding's apartment.
Amazing.
So
Thank you,
that's
Christa.
good. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, anyway.
He deserves a little studio loft.
He's got a cabin. If you saw the original image.
It could be an A-frame.
I think it is. It's like a cabin, and they've got the hands like it's first person, and then the tweet was just like, what would be in Harding's cabin? And there was plenty of suggestions, and so now Christa realized the sad part of the idea, which is I have to now Photoshop all of these things into an image. And it was like, yeah. so
for those
Christa
players of
today.
CRDM3, Krista's Photoshop wizardry is also found in-game in Clown Alley. Krista is the one who, when we said we need public domain clowns.
I never thought I'd hear the day
Christa
when someone
delivered.
was like, hey, you know what we need? Public domain clowns.
Couldn't they have all been used, Xalavier? Wouldn't that be better?
There's already enough of me in our games. It's important to...
The fact that we have clowns on staff, like, and we're using public domain clowns, and we could be using bespoke clowns.
free-range grass-fed clowns.
Yeah, for the reboot, I'll give clown makeup lessons, and we'll send everyone little makeup kits, and all the devs
That'd be
can be
great.
the clowns.
I'd love
Perfect.
that.
No notes. Truly exceptional.
All right, so we are going to jump into the show right now, because what other point would you start than free-range grass-fed clowns? I don't know. Welcome to the Strange Scaffold Cool Things Club. I am Chris, and I am joined as ever by Xalavier and Candace. How are you both doing?
I'm good. I'm moving.
I'm alive.
Yeah, you're really into it. Because this isn't a video podcast. Like Candace was like bobbing and weaving, like they had a beat going, like in the background.
I got music.
You're ready.
It's just for me.
Oh, you have music on? This is good.
That would be really funny. That would be such a bad podcast recording environment. That's so funny.
Well, this time we are joined by Manda, the producer on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. Manda, how are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
Executive producer.
Oh,
Executive
yes.
producer. Very sorry.
No,
about
it's
that,
okay.
Manda. Of course, the
it is
executive
my
producer.
So
it's my
fancy.
super fancy title because I do a lot.
So much.
But I'm super glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me come on and chat with you all. What a lovely use of my afternoon. Genuinely, no word of a lie.
Right? This is like once a month.
So glad
this
to
is
have you.
one of my favorite things. I always look forward to the fact that there's a period of time in my work time that is writing a little thing about something I'm very interested in, and then telling my friends about something I'm very interested in for an hour and a half once a month. I'm
No
like, no, this
complaints.
works.
You could replicate this moment more often by simply handcuffing roughly 3 of your friends
Yes.
in a room and telling them about something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Your friends would welcome it.
With enthusiastic consent.
It's an idea.
Amen.
That's what we need. Yeah, that's the element that was partially missing for me in the initial setup. I was thinking you were going to say, like, we could do more of this or something like that. But it's like, no, tie up your friends. Not tie up, handcuffs, I guess. Like, that was a different...
It can be both.
Less
Again,
handcuffs.
Enthusiastic consent. All things are possible.
Enthusiastic consent.
All things are possible. Say, hey, friends, would you like to hear about Star Trek? Handcuffs will be involved. And then just see how people react. Let them offer you the energy.
What happens. So, speaking of Star Trek, I'm not talking about Star Trek.
What?
This time, but I am going to lead with the very first cool thing that I'm going to present to you all. It is a comic book series called The Department of Truth.
I love Department of Truth. I didn't know you were also a sicko.
Yeah, I am. Turns out when it comes to comic books, I'm a complete sicko, so I'm into it. Okay, so you'll already know about this, but to everyone else, this comic is written by James Tynion IV, and Martin Simmons does the artwork. So what I'm going to do, for anyone that is interested in a comic book about conspiracy theories and weirdness, and you don't want to have anything spoiled for you at all, feel free to skip forward a little bit, because I'm basically going to tell you just the first issue of this comic book series, because to me, that has always been the way. Like, every time I've gone to a friend and said, hey, I think you'd like this, you should check this out, I've just described the first issue to them, and generally they've gone like, oh shit, I want to read this comic book, it sounds great.
It sounds really weird and
so
interesting.
That's what I'm gonna do.
I enjoy adding new sick things to my comic book repertoires, so
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in.
And it's weird for me. Like, I'm not a fan of like horror films at all, really. I never massively have been. But for some reason, in comic book form, I'll just read just fucked up shit. And I'd never thought about the connection until recently when I started getting back into comic books again, because I haven't really read comic books properly. I was way into them like about 12, 13 or so years ago. Huge into particularly indie comics. Like, I was way into them and I bought loads of them and all that stuff. But I hadn't read them for quite a while, and I've been getting back into them over the last like 4 or 5 months. And the Department of Truth, I was just Googling what's good indie comics. And I saw that one and was like, ooh, that looks weird. And it's conspiracy theories, but like 90s X-Files style conspiracy theories.
Say less. I'm in. You had me at X-Files. I mean, as an X-Files stan since 1996. Yeah, let's do it. Here we go.
Are. Yeah, same. I was like, all right, let's go. So the comic starts. Cole Turner, who is an FBI agent, his main job in the FBI is that he researches right-wing nationalist memes in order to understand their belief system and find out how that belief system has left them so susceptible to conspiracy theories. This is all, by the way, done in the frame of that Cole's being interviewed by 2 people, an old man and a lady, after the event he's describing. So that's the framing for it.
All right.
He, from there, goes to visit the Flat Earth Society's annual gathering, which is taking place in a hotel. And I've got some quotes from the comic as well. He says, they were mostly, but not exclusively men. They were mostly, but not exclusively white. And he notes that they're all very normal, boring people who like wouldn't stand out in a crowd. And if you're just overhearing them talking, you wouldn't think that these guys are crazy and they all think the Earth's flat. They're just talking about like The Office or quoting Family Guy or stuff like that. Just sounding like normal.
Yeah, I think that quoting Family Guy in this year of 2025 is less normal, though.
Maybe.
It's made a big resurgence on TikTok.
Really?
The kiddos are referencing Family Guy and American Dad.
American Dad, though, that's another conversation. I do enjoy American Dad.
And the Orville is something I'm going to talk about on this podcast, but not today. I'm going to talk about the Department of Truth, but the Orville, next time I'm going to talk about the Orville. It's another thing by Seth MacFarlane. It's like Star Trek. It's really good. But what he says is that they're all very normal people, and you wouldn't think they all had strange beliefs just to listen to them. They all fall into different sects of like why we're not being told by them that the Earth's flat. Like there's people that think it's the government, there's people that think it's something to do with aliens, there's like all sorts of different things, but they all believe that whoever they are trying to keep us docile, and so we'll believe anything. That's the general overarching theme of all the flat Earth people that we have seen in reality. They feel like they are sort of heroic people. He says they want reality. They want reality to make sense in a way that makes them important and special, and everyone wants to feel like that, really. So you can kind of understand and empathize with them a little bit. But then he's going to the bathroom, and on his way, he's confronted by a large man who looks like a security agent, who tells him to come with him because he's going to show him something that's going to change his life. And he's like, okay. Like, while he's there, he's taken up a bunch of stairs. He's taken into a room, and he finds Kenneth and Bertram Boulay, who he immediately recognizes. Yeah, they're good names, right? Immediately recognizes as fossil fuel tycoons who have been funding right-wing politicians for decades. They're incredibly rich, like incredibly well-known people. And they ask him if he's a believer. They've been watching him. They know who he is. They know he works for the FBI. But is he a believer? And he's like, yes.
Why not?
He wants to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he's like, where's this going? I need to find out more. He gets taken into a room, which is full of older men for the most part, and one woman in a red dress wearing sunglasses and a red headscarf. There's lots of chairs, and a projector gets turned on. They're all smoking, so the room's filled with smoke. And it starts playing a movie of the moon landing, but it's at a different angle than he has seen before. And the camera tilts a little bit sideways, and you just catch a glimpse of Stanley Kubrick holding a coffee cup, standing there just sort of watching. And the whole room, everyone in the room jumps up like, yes! Like, they're so excited, and everyone's going crazy. One of the Boulay brothers comes over and explains that they got that from Kubrick's private collection that had then been taken by the government, but they managed to get their hands on it with their connections in the government. They then ask him if he wants to take a trip, and he wants to see how deep the rabbit hole goes right now. Like, does he want to leave immediately? He does. He explains that the Boulay fund, this is him explaining this to the people that are interviewing him. He explains that they fund most of the corners of the internet that he studies, and so he felt he had to find out what was going to happen. And also, he'd never been on a private jet before, so he was like...
I respect that, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, that's very honest.
Like, yeah. He was like, I kind of wanted to see what that was like. The plane, he's on a private jet. The plane's full of the same people from the projector room. And they're all drinking and smoking and singing and having a great time. Cole says that he feels like the flight went on for days, and that it might have because they stopped to refuel at least twice, and he fell asleep a few times. And at one point, he's awoken by one of the Boulay brothers while he's asleep. He says, Cole, you're missing it. You're at the end of everything, and you're missing the damn show. Look out the window and see what they've been hiding from us all these years. Cole looks out the window, and he says, we're off the edge of the map, boy. Here there be monsters. And he's looking out the window, and he sees the edge of the world. The world is flat, and they have flown to the very edge of it. And that's just happening. The people on the plane are all celebrating and really excited, and he's just like, shit. Gets up, feels like he's going to be sick, and he bumps into the lady in the red dress who's standing in the aisle. And she says, did you see? And she takes her sunglasses down, and she has two large black X's where her eyes should be. And she says, it's important that you see. It cuts, the plane lands, it cuts, or everyone gets off the plane, and like it's all snowy. And they are at the edge of the earth. That is just where they are. He is now confronted with the fact that the world is indeed flat. Another woman starts walking towards the party. She's holding a gun. And one of the Boulay brothers is like, who the fuck's that? And they're like, I don't know. Is she not with you? He's like, I don't know. She then shoots everyone except Cole. The woman with the gun asks, are you Cole Turner? I'm here to take you home. And it goes back. That woman is the same woman who is in the interview room with Cole, the old man. And that's how it starts.
Well, that's how it starts?
The comic.
Damn!
That's how it starts. And there's another little addendum to that. The old man at the very end, it turns out they are offering him a job. The last lines in the first issue is the old man stood up and he says, I'm Lee Harvey Oswald. Welcome to the Department of Truth. Like, what?
The series goes so many other places. It is a fascinating thing about not just conspiracy, but very specifically belief in what it and how it influences and harnesses really what we were naturally built for. James Tynion 4 does really good stuff.
It does. I was going to say, I've just started reading World Tree, and that's also by him, and it's also very good. I'm only a few issues in, and it's definitely worth reading. Yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant series. The artwork's amazing throughout the entire comic. There's a whole big story about what the Department of Truth is, and as Xalavier said, what truth is, and how that shapes the world. And there's little side stories about things like people that have genuinely found Bigfoot and how that completely ruins their lives. Like, because no one else sees Bigfoot or believes them, but they did. Like, they genuinely saw Bigfoot, and it ruins generations of a family. Like, it's a brilliant story. But then it also goes up to the Alex Jones of it all nowadays with the false flag events and stuff like that. There's a whole little side story about a parent from, is it Sandy Hook, that, and how the truth of that is malleable and all stuff like that, which is really interesting. It's and there's also Mothman at one point,
as it should be. It's quite frankly,
yeah. So it's got a whole main story, but also, again, referencing the X-Files.
Monsters of the Week?
Yeah, there's little side stories, which are super fun. And brilliant comic book series. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. I've been really enjoying it. So for the most months, I've been bringing things to the Cool Things Club. But listen to how this shaped me as a person and changed my life. I thought, go a little easier. It's just a comic book series I've really been enjoying lately. So... that is me to the Cool Things Club.
Amazing.
We'll move it along, however. I'm going to go to Candace.
To me.
I'm always trying to change the order.
To me.
Candace, it's you. What cool thing do you have for the Cool Things Club this month?
Today, I am going to talk about Jaques Tati, who is a French filmmaker, a very famous, auteur filmmaker. If you've never seen any of his movies, watch Playtime. Playtime by Jaques Tati is this fantastic phantasmagoria of visual, just it's so quiet, but it's so amazing. But the main movie I want to talk about today is his 1958 film Mon Oncle. Something that's so amazing about his films is they are so very everyday. There's something really pedestrian and everyday about the setting, where it's just we are at this, I think he's an 8-year-old kid, his house with his parents, and his uncle, Mon Oncle, comes to visit, as played by Tati. And I think what makes these movies so fascinating is they are so very quiet, and I hesitate to call them slow because they do move at a really steady clip, but he has a really careful way that he makes them in. He never uses close-ups. They're pretty much always wide shots, so you see everyone in the scene all the time. There's never a time where it's and now we're really close and we're examining what this person's reaction is. That doesn't happen in his films. But in Mon Oncle, I'm even having trouble like even figuring out how to summarize it. It's really funny, is the thing.
Okay.
That is not what I expected.
No,
Yeah,
no.
It's really funny. This uncle goes to visit his nephew and kind of just goes through a day, tries to get a job at his brother's or his brother-in-law's like manufacturing plant, and that's kind of all of the plot. There's like a dinner party at one point, or I guess like a lunch, whatever. And that's kind of the only like quote unquote story that happens in it. But he has a basis in mime. So even though it's in French, you could very comfortably watch it without any subtitles if you didn't speak French, and like just watch, because the language isn't what's important in there. It's like the shape of how the sound affects the scene. Like there's one scene where two women, his sister and some fancy neighbor come up, and she comes in the gate and they just at each other and kind of like walk into the house. And that's all you need. You don't need to know what they're saying. You just need to know that it's like sound coming out. It doesn't really matter. They're just together. And there's one really lovely scene. I'm going to do a very mean thing to you, Chris, and I'm so sorry. I'm going to send a 1-minute clip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, goodness. It's become visual. It's intruding upon the forms.
I've dropped a link for y'all in the Discord, and it's just 1 minute long of the uncle trying to find something in the kitchen. And just to kind of like summarize what we're looking at for the podcast folks. He walks in, he's trying to figure out how to deal with their new fancy appliances, not really sure what to do with them. You can see the family that he's trying to get back to eating in the background. And then he just struggles to open a cabinet for like 25 seconds.
Yeah, he's not getting it. Yeah, he's
just not vibing with it.
The cabinet is. Yeah, the cabinet's more confusing than it seemed, because he was going for a push at first, and then I was like, well, it's not going to be that. There's an outward-facing handle, but then he tried to pull it and it didn't work. What even is that machine he's just turned on?
Yeah.
It's just buzzing.
This is so Jerry Lewis. Like,
Yeah.
this is very Jerry Lewis, but French.
French Jerry Lewis.
Why is like a gourd that bounces just popped out of a cabinet that opens completely wrong?
And the director is being this guy.
Yeah, that's him. That's Tati.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's fun.
Did he just bounce a lamp?
It kind of seemed like he's like, so what if I just like bounced it? It's fine.
Yeah,
Sorry, he bounces this little jug, which I thought was a gourd, on the floor, and it bounces a lot, and then he takes a glass out as well from the same cabinet that the thing came on, as if, is this going to bounce as well? No, it just smashes immediately.
Yeah, but you see, it's this really quiet, slow comedy where it's just like, we're watching a guy try to interface with the modern world and not really get there.
I love the random machine as well.
Yes,
that just buzzes and starts ticking, and then the cabinet
It just opens. I didn't what was it?
Yeah.
I would struggle with that.
I would.
Like,
So a lot of his films focus on critiquing like modern technology at the time, where especially like a lot of his critique is like the consumerism of American culture, and how that's influencing French culture. And so you find a lot of these little moments like this where there's a guy who's just existing in the world, and he's like, I don't know how to do this because the machine is so alien to me. What do I do? And there's all these little moments like this. I think something that's really magnificent about his films, and especially Mon Oncle, is like, you really have to pay attention. Like, you really have to. You saw how long that shot was. That was a 1 minute clip, and I think there were two cuts max
in total.
Yeah. It doesn't move like how contemporary films move, and I think it's a really fascinating thing to watch, even just as an exercise in like how to deal with cuts.
yeah, that was really interesting because it also kind of flies in the face of a lot of what was considered, modern at the time, like what was considered convention at the time, which was lots of close-ups. and lots of focusing on facial reactions and dialogue and, sharp cuts between them so that we could better understand, the emotional quality of a conversation. Obviously taking from theater in that particular regard because film was so nascent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that like watching it, and I have to like make sure that I like have a quiet place that I can watch it or just like have time to focus when I'm watching any of his stuff because it's like it genuinely takes a lot more effort for me to consume and like take in what he's putting on screen because he tells you what to look at, but he doesn't tell me in the way that I'm so used to people telling him. It's like, cool, I'm going to cut and it's this person talking and it's this person talking and you should be paying attention to this. I have to literally just pay attention. Which is not something that a lot of media right now asks me to do. And it's one of the reasons that I think I'm really drawn to it.
No, that's really... I looked because I was like, oh, when was this made? And it's 1958. And there's definitely because obviously French cinema, French culture and everything is different to anywhere else. Like it's culture. But it definitely reminds me of British comedy from that time.
Very
as well.
physical.
Like, and again, because you mentioned... Yeah, very physical. Also, it's people that have come from a stage background. Like in Britain anyway, like half the time the comedians of that era had grown up going through the theaters and everything like that and doing shows all the time. So a lot of the staging of earlier sitcoms or earlier just like comedy variety shows were a big thing. You could have just seen it in the theater. It's the same thing where it was like fixed camera, watch the show. Like that was it because you weren't doing a lot with the camera. But yeah, man, I really like that. That was really funny. The alienness of the machine. The fact that the cabinet opens like a maw rather than the cabinet.
It's so
like
bad.
it's like I'm not like I think what he wants is a drink.
He's trying to get a glass to go get a drink, I think, to rejoin the lunch that they're having. And he's just like and she's like, "Oh, well, it's in the cabinet." And she's been showing off different parts of her house to various neighbors and friends or whatever throughout the film. And so she's just like, look at this new feature, look at this fountain. And like at one point during one of the like lunch parties that they have, like she's like, well, here's the fountain. And they have like a stick that you stick in the ground to put your drinks in, like for coasters, basically. And he's like, oh, well, this is in the way. So he picks it up and he sticks it in the ground and then the fountain goes out. And he's like, oh. But yeah, he takes it out of the ground and water shoots up from the fountain. And then he's trying to have a conversation at the lunch party while clogging up the water. And it's like,
that's awesome.
So still in the shot composition. And it's just like, what is the performance? What is happening that you are looking at? It's also really guided by sound. Like that's one of the things is it's like, you don't need to speak the language. However, you do need to be able to hear it, I think. That's
also a big precursor, it sounds like, to things like Mr. Bean and things that since then really leaned into watch the physical comedic performance of this person. You can even sum up a lot of Jim Carrey's work in that regard of it being so rooted in exaggeration and in playfulness of the mundane, kind of like, I hate to always bring this up when we're in a call, but it always comes back to this, kind of like clowning. It is very much presenting a stage for clowning, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, he's a magnificent, I would call him a magnificent clown. He's primarily a mime as a performer, but like, yeah, I don't think and his character ever speaks in any of the films either. I think there's some of the early ones that he speaks, but I don't think in Playtime he talks, really. Maybe once or twice. And Mon Oncle barely ever. But yeah, it's just a guy trying to respond to the world, and I think that is deeply mime and deeply clown.
That's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I also wonder if the fact that he was a mime influenced his directorial approach. It had to have, because he's playing this character that we're watching right here. Everything is influenced by him thinking of how to stage for an audience the shots that would allow him to mime.
Yeah, absolutely. And I realized too, I think it's useful to mention, he is a World War II veteran as well. He fought in World War II. And I think that's a really interesting contrast too, of like really taking his experience with that and combining it with his performance experience and making film from that perspective. Yeah. I think that's really
powerful.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's generally, if you watch anything from that generation of people. That is an entire generation of people kind of molded by that war. So it is always an interesting thing. By the way, I will put that clip in the show notes for anyone that is listening. It's definitely worth watching. I found it very funny. You have to see it, if only just to see the moment where he thinks he's going to bounce the glass. Like, is this going to bounce as well? And it's like, no. It just smashed. And the alienness of the machine. Like, it looks like an oven, but it's got dials on it. It also seems to have maybe a telephone coming out of the bottom.
Yeah, maybe like a heater, question mark?
I'm not sure.
But I think that's one of the great things about that clip in particular is, like, you know what he's trying to do when he drops that glass. He didn't say, I wonder if this will bounce too. He takes the thing and he bounces it a couple times and he goes, oh, okay, drop.
Well, he gives like the glass a look as well. Like there is kind of a facial of like, will this? Like, and then just no. Immediately.
And then betrayal. Like, you betrayed me.
And he also kicks the glass under the cabinet. He's just like, I don't know how to deal with this. Just get away.
Also, he very clearly, and this had to have been intentional, he did it in a way that wasn't like a very careful sweep to get all the glass. He's tired enough of the glass in this situation that it's like a lazy brush that would inevitably leave like several pieces of glass still prominently on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now imagine an entire film of that.
I'd watch that.
Watch it, Oncle by Jacques Tati. It's amazing.
Is it easily available? I know you're in the United States. So
I'm not sure. I know the Criterion Collection has it.
It's on HBO Max right now.
Really?
Sick.
There you go.
It's on HBO Max, and you can watch it there, paying HBO the maximum amount of money to watch this really good film.
Yeah.
We don't get HBO Max where I am. I'll find other means in the United Kingdom where
you probably have
maybe I'm
Criterion
really close
there.
to France. We're getting on a bit better these days, us in Europe. Like, I'll see how it goes. I'll have a word and go, look, I just want to watch this film. This man bounces a gourd and then he like drops a glass. It's great. You know what I'm talking about.
You get it.
It's a cultural exchange. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. We're becoming friends again. It's going great. Like it's all going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Manda, what do you have for us for the cool things?
Nothing
club?
profound at all.
Excellent.
Doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be.
So
just that you think it's cool.
Yeah. So I recently, like over the last year, have been starting to get into slow crafting. And for a long time, my version of slow crafting was journaling. So whether that was junk journaling, art journals, bullet journals, like I have a journal like literally right next to me right now where I log my entire day. Everything I do goes into that journal. Otherwise I forget.
Nice.
And then when people are like, hey, Manda, what did you do yesterday? I don't have to remember. I wrote it down. I'm so smart. But that's kind of like where my art, I suppose, really begun and ended was with journaling. And I saw on Instagram, because I'm an Instagram girly, I know it's so problematic, but like that's where I get all my crafts now, where I see all my crafts
anymore.
So
here, that's what
it's fine. This is the only unproblematic place. It's okay. I can't even say that about my own podcast. Like my own podcast is also problematic. So it's okay though. We make it work. It's fine. We have 5 years of evidence. It works. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
It's phenomenal.
It's all right. We're unhinged. It's cool.
What's it called for people that might want to I was going to ask you at the end, but now we've brought it up. What's it called?
Virtual Economy. It's a podcast about the business of games for the rest of us. Tagline. What's up? So
check it out.
Yes, it is unhinged. If you want to learn about business of games, we can talk about that later. So when I don't want to be thinking about business or video games or anything really, when I want to empty my mind and kind of go into this really interesting, like moving meditation, essentially with my hands, because I want to get off my phone more. A lot of the time, because I have ADHD, I always need to be busy. I've always got to be engaging my brain so that I can pay attention to the thing that I actually need to pay attention to. anybody with ADHD understands
Sure do.
deeply. Where it's like, I have to be busy so I can do the thing I need to be doing. So I started getting into embroidery about, I don't know, like 8 months ago. And I picked up one of these kits from this spot called Clever Poppy. And it was like an introductory kit. You got everything that you want to do. You know, you have your little embroidery hoop, you've got your fabric, you've got everything like that.
Mine.
There you go.
What are these kits?
One of those kits, absolutely.
For those that can't see, what would they be seeing there?
Yeah, it's a little. It's one of the embroidery kits that she's talking about. It's literally, I don't know. It's live what you love. It's very twee and it's very sweet, and it was a great way to learn.
We love twee in this house. Yeah. So I ended up getting like one that was actually very instructive on how to do the various stitches in embroidery, like the basic stitches embroidery. So like a chain stitch. What Candace was just showing us was a satin stitch, which is the most common way of doing embroidery. Yeah.
It's the most common.
It is. It's good. It's good. We love a satin stitch. Oh, okay, while I was sitting here, I'm going to show this to the camera. This is actually a pattern that I purchased.
Is that a little hobbit?
It's a little hobbit howl right here with the green door. And I'm just getting started on some of the brown, which is awesome. This is what I was doing when I was visiting my family in Canada. My mom's a cross stitcher. So my problem with cross stitch though is that I constantly lose count. Constantly. Like you have to count your stitches. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I tried for so long. It's same thing with crochet and knitting. I'm like, I'm useless. I can't do any of these things. My brain will be like, where was I? Oh man. And we have to go back and do it again. Ugh, for the love of mutt. And I know eventually, like once you become proficient at it, you don't really need to think about it. So I got this beginning kit and I was hooked. Like I was immediately hooked because it felt like instead of doing some nebulous task, whether that was, like it was working or I was doing something with the kids or, like playing a game, like there was nothing tangible at the end of an experience, right? When I streamed, I had a tangible thing. I had a video that came out at the other end and that was really cool. But I haven't done anything like that in like 3 years. So I needed to get back into like the tangible stuff. So I've started with embroidery and I've been doing embroidery now for about the last 8 months. And, I was showing off like my new project. My other projects are scattered around the house right now because the children will come in and just take them as I finish. And they're like, no, that's going in my room. I want this one. I'm like, these are not that good, children. Like they're okay. They're all right. But they're not great. You made it. But that's what that was their response. They're like, no, but you made it. And you always tell us our art is always good no matter what it is. And we think your art is good no matter what it is. And I'm like, hey,
so
listen!
Mom.
Yeah. They took your love and turned it on you.
Oh, man. I did. I got so got. Get loved, nerd. It was very much a get loved nerd moment.
So cute.
They got you.
They're so funny. So that's scattered all around the house. Why I don't have any like with me. And recently, I'm going to grab it. Hold on. It's sitting in front of me. I just finished this morning. So this is a latch and hook.
A
little latch and hook situation. So what I'm showing off is it looks like a little grassy meadow. It looks like a little grassy meadow. And there's you need a flowers.
Tiny sheep.
Honestly, my daughter was saying that I need to like do a little bit of, I don't know, fabric something or other and like put our dogs in here. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm that creative, kid. I followed a kit for this. I don't know. Might need your help. Because she does lots of great fabric and crafting. And she was actually part of my inspiration is like my youngest daughter is 12. And she's such a crafter. She's always been a crafter. So I was like, why am I not crafting? That's brilliant. She's so chill. She's like the world's chillest kid. And I wonder if it's the crafting. I just look away like, oh my God, what if it's the crafting? So I just finished this morning. This is my new jam. I love this. And I honestly thought I would be terrible at it, and I wasn't. It was just really fun. And the stuff that I learned with embroidery helped me make these little flowers, because they're little embroidered flowers. And yeah, I had a blast. I'm gonna do like 5 more of those and just give them to my family.
Can you put a picture of that on whatever social media? You mentioned Instagram, but like whatever public social media.
It's over up on Blue Sky right now.
Sweet.
So
I will put a link to it in the show notes again, so people can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like,
sorry, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
No, it's fine.
We're doing media show and tell.
This is great.
It's okay.
We really are.
Yeah,
it's all good. But yeah, like I've gotten really into the slow crafting movement. I went and I did like a vision boarding workshop earlier this year. I think it was towards the end of January, where I hung out with a bunch of other suburban moms. You know, hung out is kind of a weird thing to say when not a single person talked to me. I freak out the other moms in this area.
Did they talk to each other?
They talk to each other. They like each other. I'm about 10 years younger than a lot of them, so
she's weird. She's a weirdo.
I am a weirdo. Like, in their defense, they're right.
Fair.
I'm so weird.
Nah, fair enough.
It's fine though. It doesn't bother me. It used to bother me. That's another story for another day. But I've gotten really into like this slow crafting. Yeah, exactly. I've gotten into this very like slow crafting where whenever I'm sitting down and like we're watching a movie or watching television or something like that, I'll pick up one of my little crafts and then I'll just sit there. You know, you all were talking, and I just had my embroidery, and I was working on, you know, another section of it, and then I can put it back down. I have this awesome little needle holder that's magnetic, so that I don't have to like think about it. I'll show it to the camera again, but like, look at that little guy. It's a little coffee cup, and it's magnetic. It just attaches to the back. Like, it's cool.
Sick.
It works out really nicely. So this has been like my big obsession over the last 8 months, is really getting into embroidery. My mom, for Christmas, I love my mom so much. She like buys me the best presents. She got me, mom's the best. Y'all would love her. She got me this, even though it's kind of ugly. It is a little, it's for all my embroidery nonsense.
Oh, so
it's
good.
like a bag of
holding for embroidery and junk journaling. That's where like all my junk journal stuff goes. It's where my embroidery stuff goes. It's great. My mom's brilliant. Like, thanks, Mom. Straight up, no chaser.
Good work.
So yeah, this has been my big thing. My mom will sit with me and she'll cross stitch, and I'm like, I don't know how the fuck you're doing that. That's a lot. I don't even understand it. How are you counting? What is numbers? As a business analyst, how does one number?
I don't know.
It's really fascinating too, the people who have moved from like knitting and cross stitch and weaving, even, who are like, oh yeah, programming makes perfect sense to me. Like, I love that connection.
It's so fascinating.
Always makes me so happy.
It's a digital expression of pulling together physical algorithms, which is basically what you're doing with things, especially with like crochet and knitting. You're following a pattern, and if you're pulling together pattern recognition, building algorithms and building out functions and programs, like, it just makes good sense. I'm a former programmer, you know, that's what my education's in. So, wow, that was a profound thing we just learned about me.
Manda, that sentence you just said was like, everyone else just seemed to take it in stride, but I was like, it's a digital expression of a physical. I don't even remember what you said, but it blew me away.
That's what I'm here for. Whoa. It was my big, profound mom moment. It's because Xalavier and Candace talk to me a lot, and they know how my silly brain works. So they're just like, that's just Manda. It's fine.
Yeah, they just took it in stride. I was just like, what?
Say more? I'm like, I don't remember what I just said.
I want to hear more of that.
ADHD strikes again.
It's
just huge nods. It's just really big nodding, and it's just like, yep, ditto, +1.
I was just casually being blown away. I was just sitting there like, what?
So I think what I said is that it was a digital expression of a physical algorithm.
Yeah. What a great collection of words all put together. That's amazing.
I got there. I had to dig back in my brain for a second. I'm like, what did I say?
You didn't write it down.
I didn't write it down.
I couldn't remember. I was relying on the fact that like I was gonna probably go back. I will edit this, and I will probably edit that bit out and just let it breathe, rather than me being like, "What the fuck?" So we'll see. But Xalavier, you were gonna say, go on.
I'm also so excited to see you go on this journey, Manda, because I think there was something that happened post-COVID where a bunch of the creatives I knew, a bunch of the technical, digitally connected, but avoiding the sinkhole of being terminally online people I knew, said, I need something that isn't this digital world. I need something that feeds me, that's outside of it. And seeing you go from programming and to your really active and like healthy and positive presence in all these digital spaces to say, let me channel this into a physical realm where I can hold something to ground me. I think that's something a lot of people are looking for right now, especially in the games industry, and your particular manifestation of it is really, really cool. I love that little grassy
Isn't
meadow.
my little grassy meadow like the coolest? It's so soft.
So cool.
It's so soft.
Cool.
I use this thing, this thing for the grass. It's called feather thread. It's so fascinating.
Okay.
Like, and you use a little plastic needle to thread it, and it's just, I want to do like a dozen more of them. I really liked it.
Every time you hold it up, I really want to put my face on it. Like it.
Same. I want to touch it a lot.
I'll do it for you.
Yay!
Oh, man.
So soft.
That looks so nice.
I'll make one for you.
Make a bigger field.
I'll make
Just
one for you. It's cool.
I'd cry.
Oh, man.
So
Yeah,
nice.
that's so cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us,
Absolutely.
Manda. That is, yeah, that's really cool. That's
Slow
all that is.
crafting, baby. Come join me.
Do it.
Man, I've been playing the drums. That's been my thing. So it's a different vibe, but a similar
It is
vibe.
though.
So
Like it's offline. You're just doing it for you. You're not
is.
trying to like fall into the millennial sinkhole that is, how do I monetize this? Because we are chronically monetizing our nonsense because we
Yeah.
all
God.
are chronically broke. So
Yeah.
Yeah, well, gig workers.
Yeah.
It's like
Woo!
you have
Yeah.
to. I mean, that's the same reason I garden. It like you can't speed
Yep.
that up. I can't.
No.
There is nothing I can do to speed that up. I put it in the
Yeah.
ground and then I wait. And it's wonderful.
Speaking of wonderful, Xalavier, what do you have for us this month on the Cool Things Club?
Club.
I think this is my first recommendation that's a AAA game that is not like more than 10 years old.
Normie.
Ooh.
Yep, going normie mode.
fascinated by
episode.
this. This never happens. This hasn't happened since our journalist days.
Yeah, it
Deep cut.
is. I weirdly enough, my AAA love and discussion, because I think that AAA, especially in this modern era, is in such an interesting place, and the developers do such interesting things with those constraints compared to what I know intimately from the indie side of the process and the conversations I have with other indie developers. The AAA space and how it continues to ship games and what those games end up looking like have so many interesting things to attach to, and so many fascinating things that occur when you build a project of that scale, which I'm now even more familiar with because I've worked in AAA a few times now. I have a love for it. I just don't usually talk about it publicly because being like, this year's Call of Duty shows interesting philosophical differences isn't usually something that someone brings me on a podcast to talk about. But this is
but
a
I'd be
strange
into it,
Scaffold
Xalavier.
podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about Call of Duty.
Oh.
I'm talking about one of the few games to really grab me and not let go in recent times. And that game is Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, a Dragon's Dogma stan. Interesting.
Yeah, so I am intrigued. So I want to know more. And I've never played any of them, so let me know.
Most interesting part of this is that a Dragon's Dogma stand, a Dragon's Dogma stand, a stand is different, is usually a type of person. We hear them on podcasts, we see them foaming at the mouth in the streets. I was not a Dragon's Dogma person.
No.
I tried it like 4 different times and didn't enjoy the series at all. I never clicked with it. Everything they said sounded interesting conceptually, but it had, for me, the warning signs of this isn't a game I need to play. They're like, it forces you to be slow. It's really, you dig into it, and 10 hours in, you have these mystical revelations. And I don't have 10 hours to wait for something to get good. I need something to hit me now. I need to hit me now and keep hitting me and invest me in a system and in a pattern that keeps me falling in love and discovering new pieces of it. That's where Death Stranding ended up molecularly changing my brain chemistry, because it embedded me into the alternate logic of a different world. Something that is really hard to do, honestly, outside of a AAA space, just because they have so much time to give and scope and budget to give systems a space to breathe. When it works, it really, really works. So Dragon's Dogma 2, I've said this jokingly on the podcast before, but I mean it. I'm looking for a game to fix me. I'm always looking for a game, a movie, a TV series to fuck me up and heal me at the same time. Because to have an impact, I want something to grab me and bring me on a journey that, in a very busy life, in a very tumultuous time, we can say, it won't distract me, but instead, again, embeds me in an experience. And Dragon's Dogma 2, as someone who was not a fan of Dragon's Dogma, I'd heard enough about it of being like, let me take a flyer on it. Let me see if Dragon's Dogma 2 is something that can have a hold on me. And boy, howdy can it. Because for all of the people who have been asking for RPGs to be weirder, for RPGs to be surprising and dangerous places, for RPGs to, even in terms of their interactions, be things that continually surprise you and give you new content. You aren't looking for an AI-generated game, buddy. You're looking for Dragon's Dogma 2. Shit. I walk into a new city. I go just to all the vendors, because I've learned at this point that vendors often... Dragon's Dogma doesn't usually flag up front who will have a quest attached. You'll just see an interesting thing appear over their head, like that they're just muttering to themselves, or they're looking for someone in the streets, and you, like an RPG adventurer, walk up to them. It feels very D&D in a way that not even other D&D adaptations have felt for me. You see a crying man in an alleyway. You walk up to that crying man, and it unfolds a story.
I like
at
this.
One point,
because I also didn't vibe with the original Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Is it right?
So I walk into a
story?
city. It's
Go
a
on.
good collection of stories, much like a really good RPG adventure by a good DM. So, for example, I walk up, I'm starting to talk to some different people. I start picking up some different quests from... I know talking to the vendors might reveal something. One of the fun things about these quests, by the way, is that they're often connected to multiple people. So I received a quest that from someone of like, hey, the person who gives out vocations, what they call in the game, so which is basically different classes. Your character can change to another class whenever you're in a major hub, and that character class can level up and provide small benefits for every other class you do. So you're leveling up all your different characters and figuring out how you like to play in the process, or these versions of your character. And he said, man, we've had our equipment stolen. There's 2 classes that we can't even provide vocations for because of monster raids. I noticed that one of the places that he said these places were stolen was a place called Trevo Mine. I looked at another quest giver and I was like, Trevo Mine? There's another person who was also guiding me to Trevo Mine. So these are 2 different people who feasibly, in the logic of this world, care about the same, care about similar things for different reasons, who I can, by hitting their quest, end up not just solving several quests, but getting entirely different views of a plot line. I, at one point, while trying to escape a castle I'd infiltrated, ran into this woman who turned out to be like a very powerful courtesan who had a major amount of influence in a city, who she literally pulled me aside and hid my presence from another approaching guard and like pulled an entire scenario with him in order to disguise my presence in the castle, and told me that there's something suspicious happening. Because she, with all of her intelligence, has guessed with the way things are flowing in the city that I'm at the root of it, and that I'm a person who would be also useful for her to know. She invites me to go to a different place. I go to that place, and at this point, I have received a quest that allows me to infiltrate a masquerade ball. By interacting more with her, she ends up leading me into a back room of this really high-class brothel and showing me a peephole. And I learn that the person who is pretending to basically be this supernatural figure known as the Arisen, the person who has had a dragon pluck their heart and still live, and their quest is to slay the dragon, the person who I am, the person masquerading as that, I learn his identity through interacting with her, and her showing me this, and her saying, you are better than this guy. So I'm going to put you in a position to potentially rule this thing, and you're going to remember me. And I see a quest completion. The masquerade ball I didn't go to, they're like, you don't even have to go to that. You learned the secret that you would have guided through an entirely different way by organically solving other things in the world. Again, like a DM. So I walk into this city, a new city. I'm talking to different vendors. I'm collecting quests and information, getting the vibe of a place which I can't enter because I don't have a border permit, which, by the way, as I'm just talking to people in the world, at another point in the game, I hear there's ways I can get into the city that don't even require a border permit. I can hide in the back of an ox cart by organically getting in an ox cart and crouching down and potentially using an invisibility skill attached to a character class and sneak in that way, but there will also be consequences. In talking to people, I talk to this guy who's a junk vendor, and he introduces himself and says, hey, not only am I a junk vendor, not only can I give you just like an odd grab bag of things, but I can create forgeries for you. And a little tutorial pops up for the forgery system.
Oh.
You can forge quest items to give back to people. So you can end up keeping the original and giving them the forgery.
Oh no, I have to play this game.
Dang,
oh no.
That sounds dope. And so I'm looking through his inventory, and he's got a grab bag of really interesting things. And one of them is called a fairy stone. Fairy stones, this game is not about fast travel. It is about walking down roads. It is not as laborious as it sounds. It is made interesting by virtue of you're always walking down a road for a different purpose. And also, if you really just need to zip to a different place, you need to get into an ox cart or use these very valuable resources known as fairy stones, Ferry stones, to zip to one of very few places in the world. Some of those fast travel points you can place yourself as you continue through the game. If you want to continue to, if you want to build your own little network of what you feel are the valuable places in this world for your patterns of travel with your party. This character has a fairy stone in his inventory. And I think, man, it's been like 20 hours. I haven't bought a single item from a vendor. I'm gonna splurge. I'm gonna do something nice for myself. If I ever want to fast travel, I'm gonna buy a fairy stone. What I didn't notice is that amongst all these legitimate items, the fairy stone was spelled in his inventory Ferri. I bought a forgery from a forger, and as soon as I looked in my inventory, I realized, I got duped. This is worth less than nothing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And a game able to systemically pull a fast one on me. A game that is constantly, whenever I come back to one of the main hub cities, especially in an earlier game, I haven't beaten Dragon's Dogma yet. It's a very large experience. I run into people in the street. Someone walks up to me. It unfolds plot threads and gives me reasons to invest into and see places from different positions constantly, such that for someone who doesn't usually finish games, one, and two, doesn't usually get grabbed by them. I tend to play a lot of different games. I don't usually tend to drill into one. Dragon's Dogma has me by the gosh dang throat because it is a role-playing game in not the role-playing sense, but in the game sense. It is an extrapolation of saying, what does a game do? What does in the very gamey meta sense that players already approach game worlds, how do you pull that into a spiraling series of different threads and ways to interact with an ecosystem in a world, and to make everything you do in it feel meaningful, but not with such a high cognitive load? Because it is an action game. It is flashy and sometimes brain turn off because I'm zipping between like objective points that people told me where to go, and I go to a person and I talk to a person. All of that is still there, so the cognitive load is also not so high that I don't end up getting ejected out of the experience by, man, I'd love to play Dragon's Dogma, but I'm too tired. I'm too tired to engage with this world.
Okay.
Dragon's Dogma
It
is also a game that is so accessible and does flag with more information than the first Dragon's Dogma, with more polish and with more areas of explicit showing you the cool stuff it's doing that I can click in and connect and understand what it's doing. This is a big thing for Strange Scaffold games. I think of game design and game direction as not just doing a cool thing and paying a bunch of people to make a cool thing. It is how you communicate the cool thing you're doing and build that into a story for your players. If your players don't know that things age in your inventory, you've coded and you've built assets for and coded a system in which things age in your inventory for no one. This is a slightly controversial opinion. I do believe in existential artistry and the value of it, but fundamentally, when you're making a commercial art, a piece of commercial art, it doesn't matter if you built this magnificent bejeweled tower if you never tell anyone what it is and why it's important. And Dragon's Dogma 2 has refined a lot of the principles and a lot of the ways that the foaming Dragon's Dogma stands were talking about the first Dragon's Dogma, but it's put it in a position, I feel, that makes that accessible and visible to especially someone well-versed with a wider world of RPG games and can engage with how this game is explicitly interacting with the conversation that those games form. So if you're looking for a real, just a kind of a flashy, lightweight, story-focused RPG, there's a lot of amazing options out there. Avowed is a recent one. I think it does a lot of really cool stuff if you're engaging with it on its own terms. But if you are looking for a legitimate world and with a role-playing game that focuses on the game elements and says at each step, why does this system matter? And it also tells you why each of those system matters. Dragon's Dogma 2 is amazing, and I play it basically every dang chance I can get. I've never, especially by a game that required this seeming level of investment, I can't remember the last time I was so pulled in and felt my time was being respected at every level.
God damn, this is another month you're going to make me buy a video game. I was going to get Wonder Stop this month. And now I'm like, oh man, now I want to play Dragon's Dogma 2. Oh, I think there's a demo of it. I think I could play a demo. There you go. I'll play the demo. I'll see how
Mike already bought it on Steam, so it's in Steam Family Share for me.
Yo.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. It's also as of recording time, which will probably not be when people listen to this,
It will not.
% off right now. So you can build your character creator. The demo is the character creator because it has a very, very, very deep character creator.
Okay.
I've seen the Monster Factory episode. I'm aware.
Same, to be fair. Man, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm really into that. That sounds really good. Yeah, again, another video game I've got to buy. Last month, you got me buying a video game. Still got to play that, by the way. I got it, though, because it was on sale. But, yeah,
can I say one last thing about Dragon's
Dogma? Of course you
Because
can.
I just realized that when looking on the store page, I'm literally kicking my feet. One wonderful thing about Dragon's Dogma 2 as well is that you will inevitably, just because the world is so dangerous early on, there's a bunch of things you just run from because you get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
You come back to early game. If you decide as a player to go back to early game regions later to just mop up whatever you couldn't before, that Cyclops was really scary before, I've advanced 20 levels, I'm going to crush this dude now. Do you know how powerful my best friend, who I have never let be anything other than a wizard, is? He can call down 90 lightning bolts on you. We're good. I go back to those early areas. New story threads. Story threads about how those regions are changing as a result of the passage of time, as well as the existential threats that are occurring in the world.
Oh, interesting.
And you get little quests of like, come back here again in a few days. It will be really easy. You can go into an ox cart, press a button, and it will fast travel you there. Come back, come back, come back. And each time you come back, new story threads, some of which have I solved and saw a major part of the main plot just by organically coming back to an early game region that I didn't even know I could or should go back to.
That is so smart. That is something I love in fantasy fiction in general, is just like how the world evolves. So that is the piece that's really hooking me.
Yeah, the return. Dragon's Dogma, most RPGs, because they can't afford it. And also because the most interesting, quote unquote, content to provide is always stretching you further into the progression loop.
Yeah.
They don't do the Tolkien-esque emphasis on the hero must go and the hero must return, and the hero and the location will change in the process. Dragon's Dogma 2 gets it, and both gently and explicitly guides you towards understanding the context of this thing. This is not dramatic world-ending stakes. You must defend each region of, at least in the stage of the game I'm in, I have no idea what Dragon's Dogma is going to do to me next. It's not saying, hey, go to the 4 towers in each region and defend them in order to expand your play space. It's saying there's people who lived in this ruined town that was burned by a dragon. You should check in on them in a few days, especially since you helped them with that. And like it's a lightweight optional activity, likely, and it will be interesting, and it gives you a reason. All these levels of satisfaction, all these things communicated in a context. This is why I adored Tears of the Kingdom when it came out, because Nintendo was like, there's a lot of ways RPGs give you things, and there's a lot of different contexts through which you can understand them. We're going to literally separate your quest tracker into the different categories of how important something is and the likely reward it will give you for pursuing a story thread and spending your time on it. Dragon's Dogma 2 does that organically as well, and especially as someone with limited time, it is such a boon. It makes it so much more compelling to see all that world has to have, because I understand why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Oh, man. Gotta get another video game. Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds like a really good time.
Oh, man, gotta get another video game. I think that's the secondary tagline for the podcast.
Yeah,
oh, man.
yeah. Whenever
Honestly.
there's a recommendation, it's like, oh, man. Sorry, Wonderstop. I was going to buy you this month because you just came out, but I don't know if I'm going to buy Dragon's Dogma now instead with my video game money.
Go do the character creator for like 60 hours.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll spend 6 hours on that. I'll get Wonderstop, play that inside. Yeah, it'll all be fine. Well, we are going to move on to questions from the Discord. And we do have one, he says, opening up Discord again. That I get the feeling we'll talk about it for quite a while. So, you know.
Always fun.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have 10 minutes to answer this question because I spent 98 minutes talking about Dragon's Dogma 2.
We do have a minute, to be fair, this time.
We
Like,
have a little
it's
bit
not
of
as
time
bad
for
as
once.
yeah, it's not as bad as last time. It's from Puck, and they have a question. What they said matter, but like an IP or something like that, from other media do you think would be ideal to adapt into a video game? What source material would you each personally dream of working with? I thought about this after playing CRDM 3's demo and a horrible Mickey game, and thinking after TMNT, Strange Scaffold would be a good fit for a Popeye video game, which I was like, firstly, fucking, that's a cool pick, like, for a video game.
Popeye
but
is
secondly,
really
He's public domain. Go get him.
It's true.
Exactly.
He also has power-ups already.
yeah,
The spinach technically shouldn't be in the public domain, but they didn't renew the copyright successfully, so it is actually in the public domain.
Hey.
We're gonna have so much spinach in our video game. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, I thought this was very apropos, as we have Manda here, who, as we said, is the executive producer on the TMNT game that we are working on here at Strange Scaffold. You can actually, you might not be able to by the time this podcast comes out.
Wish list it. Go buy it.
Yeah, you can wish list it. You can go buy it. I was going to say the demo is when we're recording it's still out, but I think by the time you hear this at the end of the month, demo won't be out anymore. But you will know when the release date is by the time you listen to this, so you know it's not actually too much of a wait for you to get the video game. So there you go. But I already know exactly what my stupid use of an IP is going to be, and it's something I've talked about before. It's Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
I would the video game I make is a video game that everyone would not be happy about it if it got announced that there was a Star Trek Deep Space Nine video game and this is what the game was. But I'd be happy.
No, I need to hear it now.
Exactly. I was like, man, I know what it is. So Benjamin Sisko's dad, are you all aware of Star Trek Deep Space Nine and the general? Yeah, sweet. I know I talked about it a lot in the first episode. So Benjamin Sisko's dad runs a restaurant. It's called, what is the name of the restaurant, actually? I think it's Sisko's Creole Kitchen, if I remember correctly. Because he lives in New Orleans. Sisko's Creole Kitchen. Yeah, there you go. It's called Sisko's Creole Kitchen. And at the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I'm not going to spoil the ending of Star Trek Deep Space Nine for you, but some characters are gone, some characters are still around, as is the nature of stories. But what I would do is I would have Joseph Sisko and Benjamin Sisko's son, Jaques Sisko, who, after the conclusion of Deep Space Nine, has come back to Earth to live with his grandfather. And he, as a journalist, is there helping his grandfather out in the Creole kitchen, but also just writing down stories. So it's a cooking game where you talk to customers. Some of the customers will be characters from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Like, you'd have Major Kira show up, and they just have a nice little catch-up while they make something for Major Kira, or Quark, or, Dr. Bashir, or Garrick. That's the general gist of the game, and Jake is the person serving the food, but he's also writing about what's happened to them since Deep Space Nine, because during Deep Space Nine is when he became a journalist, and he told the story of what happened during all sorts of things that happened in Deep Space Nine. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it would be a very simple video game. Like, if you think of like Coffee Time, but with a cooking game and as well. That's the kind of game. Yeah, like Tavern Talk. Like, that's the kind of game I'm imagining. Okay. So it's all it would be voice acted is where I'm going to blow the budget, and I would try and get the original actors in.
Good luck with that.
Exactly. It ain't going to happen. And again, why would everyone would see this concept and go, there's no Deep Space Nine video game since there's SNES, and this is what you made. And it's like, yes, but there's so much story and talk in this game. It's like you're going to hear from all your characters all that they've been up to over the last 10 years, because I want to set it 10 years after Deep Space Nine finished. So you're hearing all the things that happened to him. And then at the very end, and this will be really exciting, like the very last thing that would happen at the end of this video game is that we pay Avery Brooks a stupid amount of money to just say like 2 words. He just comes back at the end and says like, hello, son, or something like that. And that's it. That's the end of the game. Because if you've watched all of Deep Space Nine, you know Benjamin Sisko, what happened to him and all that stuff. So that's how I'd end it, and that would be my game. That Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but like a cooking story narrative game. So it's nice and chill, but you learn all about like what Garak's been doing, reconstructing Cardassia and all sorts of stuff like that. That's my game. And also, one of these days I'll just be in a meeting with Paramount and I'll be like, check it out, this is what I want to do. And, then I'll get cut off.
Bring the crow
dragged out of a room.
Play me off.
Yeah. But yeah, as soon as they asked that question, I started thinking about it and I was like, yes, that is what I would want. Like no one else would want it, but I would want it. Yeah. So Manda, obviously you're already working on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles title, but if you could, again, in the same way as I did, just take a thing that you love, make it a video game, and damn the consequences or the budget, like what would it be?
Well, I mean, if we had had this conversation like 3 years ago, it would have been a game very similar to Star Wars Outlaws. Actually, I pulled together a treatment that was very similar to Outlaws like 3 years ago. And so like that would have been a dream. It would have been a dream to make that specific game. But since that game already exists,
then they did.
Since they did it for me, and I didn't have to make it, so like, thanks.
Great. Cheers.
Thanks for just giving it to me. It's so nice. Thanks for reading my journals. Like that's cool.
You're good like that.
I like that. I actually would love to make. This is going to sound so silly, but I will give context after I say it. So.
I mean, you heard mine.
Yours is great. Like, it's fabulous. Like, it's so extremely on brand for you. This is not on brand for me. So, because, I'm like a horror writer and, all that good stuff. I want to make a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic game.
Oh, shit. Let's go.
So,
that would be so good.
I have a long relationship with My Little Pony as a child of the late 80s and, throughout the 90s. I really didn't like My Little Pony back in the day. And so when the 2010 version of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic came out, I was like, wait a second, this has a chimera in it. Wait a second. This has a river dragon in it. Wait a second, are we going this hard? Are we doing this? And we went that hard. We went that hard for like 10 seasons.
Yes.
That show went places that I never saw coming. So I introduced it to my children when they were really little because we watched it a lot. And, it was new when they were babies. And my youngest and I are rewatching the entire show.
Oh, wow.
Which has been so much fun. And so this question comes at a really interesting time. And the kind of My Little Pony game, like specifically Friendship is Magic, that I would want to make is I would want to create a city builder My Little Pony game.
Ooh.
So anyone that knows me knows I love management sims an unhealthy amount. Like,
woman after my own heart.
Healthy amount. I love management sims. They make me so happy. So I was thinking about this and I'm like, man, a My Little Pony management sim game where you can like get into the shops, but also you are building connections with all of the other creatures all over the world, whether that's in Equestria or you're talking to the Griffins, you're helping them to rebuild their homes because like there's this whole storyline about Griffins. Honestly, if you've never seen Friendship is Magic, like fix that.
You should check it out.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I've not seen all of it, but it's good.
It's so good. It's really, really difficult to find online just in general. You can watch the first 5 seasons on Netflix and then you're SOL after that, which is kind of a huge bummer. So anyway, my thinking about that is it's very much creating these connections between these different peoples and building out what is essentially an equestrian utopia, and also helping the various ponies, whether that is Rarity in her shops in Canterlot, or you're helping Applejack on her farm, or you're helping You're helping Rainbow Dash, as she's joined her, she's accomplished her life goals. All of these really interesting things to really like dig into the minutia of their lives and the minutia of how, everything kind of fits together, both in a micro and macro, both economic and socio-political structure.
That sounds great. I'm way into that. I'll play that.
That's really cool.
That could be really neat. I'd like to make that game. That'd be fun. I like building systems.
I think people would actually like that as well. Like if they like My Little Pony, like I don't think people would be like, no. It'd be like, oh shit, yeah, let's go.
Right? I don't think Hasbro would let me have the license, but if they did, I would be so good to them. I'd be so good to ponies. I would. I promise. I would be the goodest girl. I would. I wouldn't do anything nefarious. I would just do wholesome, beautiful things.
For the ponies.
Yeah.
For the ponies. I leave the horrifying things that will destroy your psyche for, like, not children things. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's fair. Yeah, I'd play that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Candace, what would you get? Again, it can be anything.
I'm struggling with this because I read that question a little while ago in the Discord, and I was like, I don't know if I have an IP where I'm like, this needs to be a game. Because so much of my interest in games comes from indie games that are making up their own stories, and that's so much of my focus. So I kind of had to stretch
or they
my
get
brain.
Inspired by big things and just do their own little take on it.
Yeah. So I've been racking my brain because the immediate place my brain went was Animorphs, because I'm always thinking about Animorphs every day.
Who isn't? Animorphs are all.
But so much about Animorphs, like, that's such a complete story, and so much of the appeal is the body horror, and I don't know if I could hit the body horror in the right way in a game.
I reckon with the Unreal Engine 5, you could do all sorts of things.
Perhaps. But it's
sponsored by...
It's the embodiment of the body horror. It's the embodiment of it that I think is really compelling in Animorphs. And seeing it from...
Not just seeing it.
Yeah, that doesn't quite hit the same.
Live in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a cool things for me later. Animorphs and body horror for children. But then I was like, all right, what is like an oddball that is not a very complete work in that way, because I wouldn't want it to be like I want it to be something that I would write fanfic about in that way, because it's technically kind of fanfic.
We love fanfic in this house.
Oh, hell yeah. I have a draft open on the other tab. But I think I'd be interested in seeing what someone did with Rocky Horror Picture Show as a game.
Yeah.
Because it's so messy. Like,
it's so good.
It's so, like, every part of how that is constructed is a mess. And it's really good.
Yeah.
And I think that's one reason I think that there's a lot of like shows and stories that get a lot of like fan coverage, is because it's like the filling in the gaps. If it's a very perfect work, then there's less fan work about it because there's no gaps to fill in.
You gotta leave them hungry.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of give myself a little call out, I think that's one of the reasons the Wednesday show from, I think, like 2022, the Addams Family show got so popular, is because it's kind of poorly constructed.
Oh, it's riddled with plot holes. It's like, fabulous.
It doesn't... The characters are very compelling. Like, very compelling.
World building, also very good. Plot structure, lacking.
Miserable. Like, really not a lot of useful stuff. And this is why it
means they can just focus in on vibes, right?
So much on vibes.
I wish that we could just do that in video games sometimes. I wish we could just be like, you know what? All this extraneous nonsense, not useful. Vibes.
Yeah, this doesn't have to make sense. And you know what? This doesn't really have to match her character either. I'm just going to put her there because that's the next thing that has to happen in the plot. Like, that is how that show is constructed. And that's why I would probably argue, like there's so much fan culture around that show. There's so much fan art. There's so much fan fiction. There's so much cosplay of those characters. I mean, other than the fact, obviously, that it's an immensely popular show. But, like, there are shows with that much financial backing that don't have that, and this one
Yes.
does.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing, I would say, Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Like, as much as it is a show that people enjoy.
It's true. And it's something that my my second eldest is starting to get into. And I'm like, oh, you're at the
Yes.
perfect age for this, because she's going to be 17
Yeah.
this year.
That's
I'm like, you're
there
the
you are.
perfect age for this. We're going to dive in. We're going to go deep.
heck
We're going to start going to showings. Like, things are going to get weird.
Yeah, and I mean, there's such a fun communal aspect to Rocky Horror too, and I don't know, I wrote a paper on it in college, so I kind of think about it every once in a while.
I will be
Just like-
requiring that paper at your earliest convenience.
It's pretty bad, but I'll send it to you.
I think you should still send it to me. I'm never going to judge you, ever. I'll see if I can dig up some of my terrible garbage, and you can read my garbage.
Perfect, amazing.
Garbage
it's
exchange.
such a fascinating object. Garbage exchange. And I think one that like I would just want to live in that world more. As a second one that I can add is Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh,
I want to run
okay.
around and have adventures as Calvin and Hobbes.
Xalavier. I mean, we already know about Bass Reeves. We already know that there's a TMNT game, as we've discussed with Manda. But like in the world where there's a city building, My Little Pony game, or a Coffee Time DS9 epilogue game, or what are you doing? Like blank check.
Blank check,
This-
and what
this
are we
was-
doing next, bestie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garfield dating sim, go.
You're a
Shit.
gremlin.
We've already got the dabbing emote. Yeah, we're ready.
Absolute gremlins.
I think that a Garfield tower defense game where
Yes.
Garfield is the towers are just defending things from Garfield, and you're trying to like scatter food to different places. So Garfield.
So wait, Garfield's
is,
a kaiju?
Yeah, how
Garfield
big
is
Garfield?
is the equivalent to, because think about what he does to John's
Oh, I
life,
know.
right? This is not what my answer was
Yeah.
originally going to be, but let's theory craft for a second. What he does to John's life is equivalent to Godzilla hitting landfall every single day. And if at a
Garfield
certain
is a
point-
kaiju confirmed.
if you're just defending your fridge, if you're getting mini fridges, so he'll have multiple targets to hit, so you can just try to have that much more time to like put him to sleep in the non-death way. You're just trying to get him to fall asleep.
So we're
Give
gonna have a
him,
nap. It's okay.
like,
Big nappy.
the supercharged milk. Get him to nap so you can just have a burger in peace.
That's all you want.
John needs it.
Yeah, Odie's like Mothra in this situation. That's what I'm thinking.
That
like,
seems
you
right
know,
to me.
Odie's
Friends
kind of
to
there to
all.
help, but like it's
I'll kill a kid.
But also problematically good friends with the kaiju
yeah,
that destroys
exactly.
your
That's
town
it.
all the
It's like
time.
sometimes they're buddies, sometimes they're not. Like you don't really know where you stand with them in terms of defense.
But this question was really hard for me. One, because I've worked on a lot of stuff I consider dream properties, like South Park and Stranger Things, and TMNT now with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, which you can wishlist. I'm not a blank check guy, as we've also discussed in this podcast. So whenever I think about a game idea, the fun little dude in my head goes, but would that be feasible under a time and a budget? And
How could I
would
really
the
I
licensor
do
actually
the
allow
exact-
that? Does that
feel-
fit their does that fit their recent strategy with the IP in recent years?
How do we make sure that this is a portfolio fit for the studio on
exactly.
top
I
of
do
making
that
sure
all the
that we
time.
can pitch
How are we
that
gonna market it?
successfully? How do we market it? That's how you
Yeah.
know that we are all sicko game devs. All of
Anyway.
us.
Deeply broken.
Capitalism is a disease.
It's true. It's true.
It's why my idea, like the biggest extravagant, I was like, make it so small scale and like and low poly, but the biggest extravagance is just voice actors. Just voice actors. Like, can we have voice actors? Like, I was still like, we could do it, but yeah.
It's also interesting because I believe so strongly in inspiration and people taking those to build different worlds. A great example of this being within our own studio, things like El Paso Elsewhere, right? I loved Max Payne, and I felt I would never get the chance to work on Max Payne. So I said, I'm gonna translate this vibe and this style of gameplay into a character who has not left my head for years, and figure out what that looks like. And now that's a different universe that's getting turned into a movie that can be its own thing. And I think that that's usually the road of most freedom as well. So this was really hard because it's the fun question that has a bunch of downer replies that do not yes and it. But in hearing other people's lovely suggestions, I think actually there's a couple that are really good candidates in my head for what not even what like another Xalavier IP take could look like. One, which I wouldn't want to do, because it would give apparently a heinous man money, is a Cabin in the Woods game.
Oh, that's a shame. Cause,
because that would be
great,
so
that's
cool.
A shame.
That would be so cool.
Right. I was immediately like, oh yeah, that guy.
Cabin in the Woods.
What a bummer.
In a game or a context that was about the people underneath the cabin.
Yes.
That was the part that fascinated me. If you just made it about those folks, you get it.
I do. I love that movie an unreasonable amount.
Yeah.
Who are those people?
Yeah,
and they're doing the bet, and I do love the film and what it ends up doing, but if you just presented me a slice that was just about them in the world, doing little betting pools, trying to make sure the ritual pays off every year. I mean, there's shades of that in Life Eater, right? Of trying to pull a sequence together, sometimes when things are very much working against you. All of that just like really lives in my head as like, dang, that's a really interesting world that is itself inspired by so many things, and pulling those tropes together and asking what they can mean. Dread from 2012 is
dude.
a game I have written literal inspired by pitches about, because it cracked the Die Hard problem as far as games, because a lot of people have talked about a Die Hard game. Die Hard is really, really, really hard to make into a game because it's like in terms of both its narrative and then its translation into a gameplay context. There's a lot of ways a faithful quote unquote Die Hard game would be bad. So you have to like strong arm it into fitting the right structure to allow you to be John McClane, a lot of which would result in boring gameplay, which the movie edits out. But Dread gives a guy with a cool gun that fires a bunch of different stuff. Even it doesn't just give him a main quest that's just floor by floor by floor. It gives him storylets. It gives him little side adventures into an apartment for a little bit of time, and then he goes back out, and it's up the tower again. It's perfect for
it's ready.
All sorts of purposes.
It's ready for a video game. It really is ready.
Real talk, I reckon you could probably get Judge Dredd as an IP. Like
they are doing this kind of pitch with actually the RoboCop sequel, which is just announced as well.
That RoboCop game, low key, is really good. I had the privilege to consult on that game.
Oh, really?
I did. Yeah. They brought
they
brought me in to like do a temp check essentially and be like, how do you think American audiences will receive this? I'm like, well, first of all,
fuck those guys.
First of all, it was
about them to begin with.
Honestly, though, that game is legit. It is so legit.
I never finished games. I beat RoboCop Rogue City.
Yeah.
And they just revealed a sequel called Unfinished Business where you fight your way up a tower.
Yes! I will play that game.
Good.
It's literally called Omni Tower. So you're fighting your way up Omni Tower, a massive housing complex, reading from the Steam page, designed especially to provide for the needs of the residents of old Detroit. So there's Dread, there's Cabin in the Woods, but a little sneaky also thing to put this on people's radar is a perfect movie called The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
I don't know this perfect movie.
It is
all of us Googling
it is a movie based off of a novel from the 60s. It was released in the 70s, early 70s.
73.
And it's a blaxploitation film. It's a blaxploitation film which is about a guy who becomes their DEI initiatives begin to get criticized across the United States in the 1960s. And so they throw in one black person into the CIA who manages to get through the horrific gauntlet to end up being the one person who will be allowed to be in the CIA. And even he doesn't almost manage to get it in despite acing everything. So he manages to get in by he manages to get in by merit, but they call it so-called merit in that context, and they give him promptly the most boring job in the CIA, which is just filing papers for 5 years, which he faithfully does. He, for I think 5 to 10 years, just files papers for the CIA and is brought out whenever they want to show that they do have one person here who earned his place. He's a good one. And then he quits his job under amicable terms, goes to the slums of Chicago where he grew up, and trains a paramilitary guerrilla force of black people to take back the United States. And I always thought, while watching this, because it's not shot like a typical blaxploitation film, there isn't a bunch of sex and gratuitous violence, which in the late blaxploitation period, that's what it basically became. What was originally a engine for allowing black stories to be told in the first place became gentrified and into the exploitative context, which it originally simply used as a delivery device to be allowed to exist. Spooky Sat by the Door is not shot by that, doesn't do storytelling like that. And I expected at any moment this story, which is very told with a straight face of, hey, they're gonna topple the U.S. government as it currently exists. They're training guerrilla groups. Then there's splinter guerrilla groups who go off from them to spread across the United States. There's no way that a film in the 70s lets them get away with this. And it does.
What?
Shit.
Are you for real?
The movie.
Fuck yeah.
He is the smoothest, strongest, most intelligent man in the room. So he doesn't. And the entire time, the CIA, because we occasionally get cuts to their perspective, they think it's the Russians, because it couldn't be black people doing this. Who's
I have to watch
activating
this. I have to watch
and
it.
manipulating all the black people?
I have to watch it. It sounds incredible.
So the spook who sat by the door, playing straight and actually delivering the story. This is spoilers, but not spoilers. The final scenes is him. He's been injured in a confrontation, but he's alive. And he looks out over the city with a drink in his hand as on the radio, the broadcasts are playing from across the United States rebellions beginning about people pushing back against the oppressions that they have been under across the United States in the guerrilla cells he himself planted into his acolytes have gone on to do. Like,
That
it
rules.
lets the quote-unquote villain of the status quo in the 70s win, and it presents it with aplomb and nuance and with quiet strength and anger with a soundtrack by Herbie Hancock. He soundtracks the entire thing. It sounds amazing.
That rules.
And the degree to which you can, in
right
multiple
now.
ways,
Yeah.
translate that into a game context, but if you brought it to a publisher, they would immediately be very scared of letting you go as far as the movie does.
Oh.
Fascinating.
Right.
That-
So they let us
Embedded
make
in my
click
brain.
holding. I reckon someone would let us do this. Like this.
I mean,
I'm
somebody
looking at
did
the
let us do
United
clicks,
Artists.
so
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, that happened. So, I mean.
See, you actually just jogged my memory because we've had this conversation, you and I, Xalavier, of like, well, you're going to have a real hard time making a game. I want to make a game of how to blow up a pipeline. The book "How to Blow Up a Pipeline" by Andreas
They
Malm.
made a
Well, I
movie. They
thought
made
you
a
just meant
movie
as
of
a
it. I'm so
concept.
surprised they let them make a movie of it.
It's a book by Andreas Malm, and it's fantastic, and it's talking about the history of the climate movement and like how do people protest and both physically and not like stop people from killing the planet. And I want to make a game of it really bad. like a management game of it. It's like, cool, here's how you started with like very small steps. Look, oh, they're gonna do our requests. Oh, they're not doing it. Oh, they're not doing it? Cool. So now this level is how do you break into this facility and blow up the pipeline?
Mafia 3 is tapping into some ideas.
I am an unabashed Mafia 3 stan. I adore that game.
Yeah, the spook who sat by the door is fascinating in that I think especially because Charles Webb, I'm certain, is familiar with the movie, managed to pull some ideas of that into Mafia 3. But it's fascinating that this book / movie from the 70s goes harder and explores the full implications of its premise. I thought it would, at each point, I was like, oh yeah, it's going to end here where he sets up the cell. No. When the U.S. government comes in to fight against them. No. When they manage to get the general of the army dosed up on acid and riding a children's bicycle through the streets before shooting him in broad daylight and slipping into the shadows.
I'm watching this. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. I'm gonna do it tonight.
The fact that, yeah, even things that have been inspired by it or could be compared to it haven't gone as far as that gosh dang movie, which explored the full implications of that story on a tiny budget in the 70s. Fascinates me, and I'm excited to see, if more people know about this movie and listen to this podcast, maybe they'll go on to make the game I need to play based on it.
So I've been looking it up. Annoyingly, it looks like Disney might own it. Because as of 2021, they were trying to make a TV series of it for FX, which I guess no longer exists.
No, that's been folded into, I think, Hulu.
Yeah, all under 20th television. Mm-hmm. But so it might be that Disney own it nowadays.
Consolidation is bad.
It is.
Yeah, that didn't happen, and Disney don't own it, and there's someone out there that does own it, and they want to get in touch about that IP. I'd fucking play that game. Let's
go get it. I'm into it.
Bad rule.
Let's go.
Yeah, you got some good picks there. Not gonna lie, if I genuinely think the most gettable one might be Judge Dredd. I feel like
that's impactful.
Yeah, right. And when was the last good Judge Dredd game? I remember
there's
one
on
PS1.
There's one.
Life Eater was almost a Judge Dredd game. It was almost an official Judge Dredd game.
Huh.
Well, that means we were close. We could talk to them again.
We gotta get Turtles out the door first. One thing at a time.
Okay, true. And as we're already talking to Paramount, I have this great Deep Space Nine idea. So we swing by them while I'm in a meeting or something. It'll be great.
Go take a nap.
That wraps it up for another episode of A Strange Scaffold Cool Things Club. I'm laughing because I always forget. Go take a nap until we record it, and then I forget again until I edit it, and I'm always like, what a great sign off. Candace, you're the best. Thank you for joining us. If you were listening to this and you've enjoyed it, leaving a review on wherever you happen to be listening to it would be super useful, because that still helps the old podcast discovery algorithm. So if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Overcast, wherever you're listening, if there's the ability to leave a review, we'd appreciate it. Do remember that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown is coming out May 22nd. You can wishlist it on Steam right now. Speaking of wishlisting it on Steam right now, don't forget about Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3, the Metroidvania you didn't know you wanted until right now, but you do. You remember 1 and 2, right? Good times. You can wishlist that on Steam as well, so do go and check it out. Thank you for joining us here. Also, actually, we got a newsletter. I write that. We got a newsletter. You should go and sign up to that as well. Go to strangescaffold.com. You can sign up to the newsletter and you will get it fresh as soon as it comes out. We got another one. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, there's another one of them coming out on the following Monday. But if you're listening to this in the future, you should still go and subscribe. And if you're listening to this in the future, we're currently investigating ways that we can put all of the back issues somewhere you can read them. Because right now, if you don't get it, if you're not signed up, it just disappears into ephemera. But I am looking into a way for us to do it. And it might not be the way you expect. I don't know. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. And remember, as Candace said, go take a nap. It's important. You work hard, you know? Go take a nap. Look after yourself. It'll be all right, mate. Don't worry about it. You're doing fine. Just do some breathing and, you know, really feel within yourself for a bit. It'll be all right, mate. Don't worry about it. Trust me. It could be worse. Unless it isn't. Unless it's already worse. But now things can only get better. Maybe. I don't know where I'm going with this. I was helping at first, and now I'm not. Never mind. See you next time. Take care of yourselves.